Hello, I'm Michael Clark, your host for Meet the Farmer TV. Today we're going to Polyface Farm and we're going to see Eggmobile version 2.
Our mission statement is to create ecologically, emotionally, and economically enhancive agricultural prototypes and facilitate their duplication throughout the world. And so anything that we can do to promote these models will touch and heal one more acre, one more customer, one more farm.
A multi-generational effort to heal land here in Central Virginia at Polyface Farm. Meet the Farmer TV is made possible by Planet Earth Diversified, Melly Productions, and Leslie P. Jenkins Photography and Graphic Design, with additional support from Feast, connecting local farmers, artisan food producers, and consumers. Culpeper's Channel 21, helping to preserve the agricultural history of Virginia, and Flavor Magazine, serving the Piedmont's local food and wine culture. Hello, I'm Michael Clark, your host for Meet the Farmer TV. Today we're here in the forest, which is officially called Forest Pig Finishing Glen. And we're here with Joel Salatin at Polyface Farm, and we're going to find out how happy families get happy food from happy animals here at the farm.
I'm Joel Salatin. Welcome to Polyface Farms. You're enjoying Meet the Farmer TV.
So Joel, you have a number of speaking engagements coming up, and we see your poster child on the cover of Blue Ridge Outdoors here. And tell us about all of your outreach and the things that you're doing.
Well, it's busy. It's busy. I speak to a lot of colleges, sustainable ag, even business organizations. I don't know, a lot of people are interested in food and integrity food and good food, and so here we are. So the big question would be then, Joel, how do you survive in this industrial food world? So far we've been able to, but we've had our skirmishes. In fact, I wrote a book, Everything I Want to Do is Illegal, to describe the kinds of battles that we've had so far. And I can tell you that that it's not getting better, it's getting worse. It's getting, even with all the paranoia of industrial food, even with everybody, a lot more people interested in local, heritage-based, indigenous food, even with all that, believe me, as we take market share, as people opt out of the industrial system and we take market share, those big boys, they don't like that.
They're not happy.
They're not happy. And so they are willing to use the power of the Attorney General, the power of government pseudoscientists to foment paranoia to get you and I to give up our food security.
You're going to speak about this here.
Yeah, actually Tuesday, Bloomberg Television from New York City is flying me up to be on their business channel to answer the question, how do you survive? How do you handle the industrial food system? How do you, as a non-industrial farmer, exist or thrive in an industrial food system paradigm? And we'll be discussing these very issues right
Well,
there.
now, a lot of what you do is marketing direct to your customers.
That's right.
An intimate relationship, which is really what Meet the Farmer TV is all about. Let's get to know the customers and the farmers, and break some of those barriers so that they really know what's going on.
Right.
And as we drive through this area, we see a huge amount of commodity production, just corn or cattle.
That's right.
And those poor guys don't have that intimate relationship with their customers, so they have to do whatever the industrial food system says to do, because once their stuff grains on the truck, they got to sell it.
That's right. That's right. And ultimately, I mean, for example, if it comes down that you have to microchip your cow to sell it at the stockyard, guess what? You're going to microchip your cow, and you're going to go into all this rigmarole, and it's going to be less money for you, and it's going to just, and eventually it'll be paid for at the consumer price shelf. The fact is that it doesn't it doesn't address food safety issues at all. It doesn't address any of them. All it is, it's interesting that the person pushing this nationally is Congressman Colin Peterson from Minneapolis, Minnesota, who just so he happens to now, since our own Congressman Bob Goodlatte, Republican, of course, the Senate, the Democrats taking over Congress. So Bob Goodlatte, who was chairman of the House Ag Committee, now is minority leader, and Colin Peterson is now chairman. Interestingly, his district in Minneapolis has the 3 world leaders of RFID, radio frequency identification device technology manufacturers in his district.
Well, they certainly want it.
Follow the money.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Well, now, we've noticed in talking to, and there are some intelligent people in the government.
Right.
And and there's some people that really want to do some good things, but they are feeling tremendous pressure from the consumer, and the consumer is very fickle. They want cheap spinach and they want cheap chicken, but if their baby gets sick, they want the whole world to stop and prevent it from ever happening again.
Right.
So they're getting these pressures, which are really unrealistic pressures from the consumer.
That's right.
And so then the government officials feel embarrassed because here they are for years and they're supposed to be providing this safety, and so they grasp at the biggest hammer, the biggest gun they can get.
Yes.
But how do we get them to see that there are these simple ways that are actually global solutions?
I just had a guy, ran into him in Boston 2 weeks ago. He was a mid-level guy with USAID in South Africa, stationed in South Africa. And he finally went up the chain of command to find out why in the world they were USAID was subsidizing projects that required heavy petroleum use, confinement housing, chemical use, hybridization, non-indigenous, all this stuff. And finally, he finally got to an upper level management at USAID, and that official told him, we want them to be dependent on US exports.
So it's a marketing program.
Absolutely. It's the new colonialism a la slavery.
Right.
It's just more insidious, but it's the same thing couched in some sort of a pseudo-sincere view. I did a presentation in Arkansas. I had a colonel and 4 guys come over from the Army base there, listen to my presentation, and the colonel came up to me afterwards. He says, "You know what? We're getting ready to be shipped out to Afghanistan to do agricultural, rural, economic development. And you know what we're going to do?" He said, "We're going to take machines over there that those people can't fix. We're going to give them seeds for plants that they don't know how to grow and don't want to grow and don't need, that will require water and petroleum and fertilizers that they can't afford and can't acquire." He just went down this list. And he said, what we need to be doing is we need to be teaching about root cellars and feeding their own villages and indigenous crops and permaculture and mulching and carbon, use of carbon, biomass and this sort of thing. He said, but that won't be what we do. And how many people, Americans, feel so good about the help that we're doing,
So how do we change that, Joel? How do we,
with this program and a million other programs like it, with one person seeing the light, another person seeing the light, and there are some wonderful projects going on around the world. Don't get me wrong, all missionary efforts are not tainted with Wall Street. There are some really good projects going on, but you have to be like a pig on a truffle to find them. There are few and far between, and I can assure you that all of the good ones are non-government. They're all NGO, non-profit, private kind of little foundations that are doing.
Well, let's get together and see if we can't find some of these and do a really feature on them and try to pull some of that
out.
up.
The Blue Moon Fund? That would be one that would be worth looking at. Heifer Project International.
Yeah.
They're good.
Good.
I can't think of Sand Institute International. That's another one. But anyway, there are some good ones. But they're little few, tens of thousands are nothing compared to.
Well, we're about to send billions of dollars to Iraq and Afghanistan and what is it, Tigris and Euphrates, the rivers there in Iraq. There is a delta there that can feed the whole country.
Absolutely.
And they're not doing anything with it because they don't know how and they don't have the infrastructure. And the military has hired NGOs or groups for development, and they're begging for people, come help us do something. Do you think there's some way to get in there and actually redirect some of this huge amount of effort that really is trying to help those people and get them to raise turkeys and chickens this way?
Well, the road to hell is paved over with good intentions.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess my point is that yes, I'm confident that we can help them. I think the first thing we need to do to help, though, is to sit down and listen for a year. And that's what nobody's willing to do. Nobody's willing to go and listen any more than the Europeans who came into this valley in the 1700s, late 1600s, were listening to Native Americans who had built this wonderful herbivore bird pastoral landscape with predation, herbivores, and multispeciation and movement. They didn't, these Germans and our forebears, okay, English, didn't sit down and ask them, how did you do this? No, they brought their European plow and disc and short-term seeds and annual cropping, and ripped up the valley here, and it'll never be the same.
Well, now the only really good thing that's happening right now in this crashing economy is it's no longer immensely profitable to bulldoze this field and put up a commercial sign.
Yeah, that's good.
So we've had for the last 10, 15 years, every farmer has had this tremendous pressure that the most profitable thing to grow is a house.
Right. Yeah, it's called the final harvest. Yeah.
Well, and that's what a lot of this generational thing that we've talked about, that kids were like, as soon as daddy's old enough and lets us sell the farm, we can get some
money.
Out
of here. We're out of here. Yeah.
Now, how have you dealt with that? I mean, you've got Daniel now that's taking over, and so many people talk about how hard it is.
It is hard work, but I'll tell you, I don't think we work any harder than anybody else.
Well, your stock fund didn't crash last year, did it?
No.
I mean, all your birds are still there.
That's right, the birds are there.
You've got no Madoff problems.
No, the customers are going off. That's right, yeah, because we invest in this. Right. This is our whole
this
life,
is your portfolio.
Equity. This is our portfolio, and so I guess on that standpoint, I would just say that there are benchmarks of success in farming, like in any other business. And many farmers are not good businessmen. They don't run it like a business. They run it more like a ministry maybe, or a something that I'm beholden to, as opposed to a business.
So that stewardship and that passion for keeping nature alive and happy becomes sort of a passionate religious pursuit versus an MBA but that's part of why you make these good decisions.
Yeah,
because you've got that heart in it.
Well, because we're ultimately, what we want to do is make decisions. Our decisions are based on, we want healthier immune systems, not sicker immune or weaker immune systems. That's one. Number one, we want more dancing earthworms. If we've got dancing, copulating earthworms, everything kind of works. All right. We want more just innate health in the landscape. We want diversity. We want a better water cycle on the farm. We want to see springs run better. We want to see fewer floods, less drought. So we're building forgiveness into the landscape, because nature is not always an easy taskmaster. It's hot, dry, flood, wind, whatever. And so part of our responsibility as stewards is to build what I call redemption or forgiveness into the landscape. So we build ponds so we don't flood the Potomac during winter rainfall, and we can meter that water out in a drought in the summer and create Eden. I mean, if the amount of soil that's been moved in this Shenandoah Valley had been, instead of gone to produce corn for herbivores, which shouldn't eat corn anyway, and instead all that soil had been moved, tucking ponds in all the hills and hollers, we would absolutely be Eden here. We would be flood resistant, we would be drought resistant, and it would be a totally different situation. But instead, we turned all that soil upside down, the rain came, washed it away, and now we've got rock piles, and you know, our fertility's gone down to the Chesapeake Bay and ruined the crab. Again, all this innate luxury we've squandered. So our responsibility here is to recreate that indigenous resource wealth that was here before it was pillaged by Europeans.
So really it's that fear that people have that they're not going to survive. They've got to, I mean, I've heard so many people say when they built that big chicken house or their turkey building that finally they could relax. They had a secure sense of income, and there were hassles and problems, but they didn't lose the farm.
Right.
And so there are people that are just so desperate to survive, and then we've got government officials that are embarrassed that they haven't protected us enough, and we've got consumers that they're being irrational in their demands of cheap food and infinite ultimate protection of nothing ever going wrong, and they never get their feet dirty.
Right.
At the same time that they have all of this beautiful stuff. So how do we, you're speaking, we're doing a TV show.
Exactly.
How do we get this really working?
We just keep doing what we're doing. I mean, the only way what revolutions happen or changes happen is one person at a time from the bottom up. It doesn't normally happen from the top down. Top down usually is circle the wagons and protect the status quo. That's top down. Bottom up is true change of whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think we're doing it.
Right.
It just the fact that this venue even exists for us to even talk and communicate with people indicates a climate of change in the countryside that, hey, somebody's watching.
Now, organic chicken's coming from anywhere in the world, from just meeting a list of practices, not really doing this holistic farming.
And free range. I mean, free range chicken now, means 5,000 birds in a house with a 3-foot dirt apron around the house that they don't even set.
So our concepts have been co-opted and
co-opted the language. Co-opted the language.
How do we keep this local from getting co-opted? I mean, the only way we're going to get support against NAIS and the government stopping you is the local consumer says, I like what he's doing, don't stop him doing that.
That's right.
I want that to happen. But we already see a lot of big organizations are wanting to put a local sticker on and say, local, what does it mean? It comes from this continent? But is there some way that we can, I mean, maybe we've got to do more of this, the personal marketing like you do, where you see your customer face to face.
I think, or certainly food clusters of some sort. One of the values that we've created for Polyface is that we don't ship beyond 4 hours away. And in other words, 8 hours being what you can go to, look at, and see in one day to maintain transparency. In fact, I'm not so sure that transparent is going to become the word that local eclipsed organic. And I'm not so sure that transparent is going to eclipse local. That I was down in North Carolina just lately, and there was this farm that's all about local and all this stuff, but they won't let anybody come and visit.
Yeah.
Well, that's not what local is about. The idea of, and it's just like organics is not about organic Twinkies. And so it may be.
But it was organic corn. It was organic sugar.
That's right.
And it was organic cellulose that we turned into that gummy stuff.
Right.
So it's organic. It meets all the requirements.
Right. I guess, well, and that just shows how organic is not a comprehensive term.
So what happened to what we were trying to do 30 years ago? That somehow, so is it so invasive, the ability of a large organization to capture a term and
listen, adultery's been going on for a long time. Whether it's,
we got organic adultery
or language adultery, absolutely. I mean, marketing adultery, okay? Adultery is big business, all right? And and so we're not going to be immune to that, all right? Any more than putting a backwards collar on a man makes him an honest cleric, okay? And so So we just have to understand that that's on the ragged edge of change, that's the disequilibrium of the ragged edge of change. And we just need to enjoy it. We need to educate our customers. That's why we encourage our customers to come out, visit the farm, walk the fields, look at it. I wrote a book, Holy Cows in Hog Heaven, how to identify a transparent local farmer. And people buy them by the box and give them to their customers at farmers market. And what they tell me is, it's a little short book, it's easy read, but what they tell me is they can always tell at farmers market their customers that have read that book or not. They get it, okay? And that's what I wrote it for. It's a quick, you can read it in a couple hours. It's cheap, and it's a way. It's just another little piece of ammunition in my belt that I've tried to create in order to punch through this ignorance, this presupposition, this duplicitousness, the duplicity of people to just accept language adultery at face value instead of going and checking it out.
We can't get everybody out to Polyface to see it in person, but we can provide this video and people can see some of the things.
That's right.
So let's see some more of the happy animals and faithfulness.
That sounds great. Let's do that. Hey pigs. Hi pigs. How are you pigs? How you doing? How you doing? Huh? How you doing, pigs? All right, so these are forest finished pigs up in the woods, and this is like they were done, 100 years ago. Neighborhood, they'd turn their pigs out in the woods, and so these pigs are able to find roots and nuts and bugs and worms, and then they eat local GMO grain like the chickens as well. But they're eating a lot of these weeds and the forages and creating temporary disturbance that actually brings these indigenous grasses back to simulate. This is simulating the temporary disturbance that a 2 million head herd of buffalo would have done as they moved through here, hunted or predated. And it's this temporary disturbance that creates the germination and the ground for higher successional species. And
so the alternative to this would be a feedlot where this disturbance would be down to where nothing's growing and it was just a pollution site.
That's right. That's right. Or a confinement factory on slatted floor with a slurry pit underneath,
and a big tank.
where the pig can never express its pigness, by rooting and by doing its innate stuff.
Yeah, they look pretty happy out here. Is this like nap time in the pig forest?
Yeah, we're in the middle of the day and they're enjoying afternoon nap. These are happy pigs, and they're fully expressing their pigness by being able to root, eat, and be in a natural pig habitat. The point is that in our culture right now, our Western linear, reductionist, Greco-Roman, disconnected, fragmented, systematized. It's all about
maximize density.
Yes, all type of culture. We simply view these pigs as an inanimate pile of protoplasmic structure to be manipulated however cleverly hubris can imagine to manipulate it.
So you're not growing your own liver or second heart or something?
No, and I would suggest that a culture that views its plants and animals from that type of disrespectful, manipulative standpoint will view its citizens the same way, and other cultures. Whoa. And we want a pig that'll put some fat on, because the taste is in the fat. And when the fat is based on salad, the fat is a totally different profile, saturated, polyunsaturated, and unsaturated.
Really?
It's a totally separate, different profile than just, you know, fat, starch-based fat. So yeah, there's a tremendous amount of difference. You know, riboflavin's way higher. You know, you even get some conjugated linoleic acid. Of course, with the eggs, you know, the omega-3, omega-6 balance is correct. So all these things are.
And we were talking about science. Balance. Are you doing some research?
We've had some stuff tested at labs, and it's remarkable. I mean, the amazing thing is that it's so far different from what the labs are used to that sometimes the needle goes off the paper. You know, like when it's measuring
They're
something.
not calibrated for that
Yeah, not
range.
calibrated for that range. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So tell me what's happening here where they're doing this disturbance that you're talking about. That's
yeah. Well,
that's
the whole
really maintaining your forest.
That's right. Actually, this temporary disturbance actually renovates and freshens up the forest floor, so that there's more active decomposition, more carbon sequestration, more soil building, and actually a more diversified floor covering of plants, more diversified than there would be if it were just a leaf duff.
This is my food.
That's good outtakes.
Because just
ate the strap. That's great.
because just a non-decomposing sterile leaf duff is not nearly as viable a living system as this living polyculture underneath the trees. Right. So they're in an area for about a month, and then they're off for 11 months. So it's a 1 month on, 11 months of rest.
And so all their droppings and everything are incorporated in this low growth that is unnatural in just a
that's right, in a forestal setting. That's correct.
Let run.
That's correct.
So we would probably be lost in vines and poison ivy and rose bushes under here.
Yes.
If this wasn't your technique.
or it would just be leaves, just
leaf
a leaf
litter.
cover, leaf litter. Yeah, as opposed to all these different plants that are intercepting more sunlight and encouraging additional biomass production on the forest floor.
And then this is actually part of your sustainable timber also, because you can harvest worst out first and not clear cut.
Right. That's
so
right.
you would destroy the home for your pigs if you clear cut.
Oh, that's right. And the beauty, of course, the beauty of this then is that while the forest is growing, you get this annual cash flow through the forest. So the forest now doesn't have to, economically, it doesn't have to justify itself. It justifies itself partially and as a habitat for the pigs. So you get annual income streams while this once in a blue moon harvest of the forest is going. And you know, everywhere you go, the foresters are always, hey, how do we get people to maintain their forests? Because the cycle is so slow. I mean, like once a generation.
But you can just move these pigs through continuously.
Absolutely. This way, every year, this forest is displacing about anywhere between $300 and $500 per acre worth of grain every single year. So even though they're only on 1 month a year, that's displacing hundreds of dollars per acre of grain. Suddenly, that acre of forest is generating, you know, $300 a year every single year, while it's actually encouraging the tree growth because it keeps it clean and you know, bug-free around the root collar.
Well, there you have it. Polyface Farm here with Joel Salatin, a passionate farmer trying to heal more acreage, not just grow more crops. And you've watched another Meet the Farmer TV. Meet the Farmer TV is made possible by Planet Earth Diversified, Melly Productions, and Leslie P. Jenkins Photography and Graphic Design, with additional support from Feast, connecting local farmers, artisan food producers, and consumers. Culpeper's Channel 21, helping to preserve the agricultural history of Virginia, and Flavor Magazine, serving the Piedmont's local food and wine culture.